I was 2 signatures away from closing a $5.2 million commercial property deal in downtown Boise when my assistant buzzed me. Ben, there's a call coming through from someone named Marissa, wedding planner. That was weird. I didn't have any weddings booked. Patch her through, I said, capping my pen. The line clicked and a soft voice came on. Hi, Mr. Kerr. This is Marissa Langston. I'm coordinating the Jefferson Raines wedding. My brother-in-law, Caleb. He was marrying some Instagram influencer I'd met twice. Yeah, what's this about? She hesitated. I could hear paper rustling. I was asked to reach out because there's been a change to the guest list. Specifically, your name's been removed. I blinked. Removed from what? From attending. I was told by the bride's family that it would be better if you didn't come. I let that sit for a second. Did my wife say that? She fumbled. The instruction came from her parents. I stared down at the contract on my desk. The numbers swam a little. 6 months ago, I'd wired $42,000 to cover the wedding. I'd overheard my sister-in-law crying on the phone about the budget being tight and quietly stepped in. Paid the deposit on the venue, catering, DJ, florals. No questions asked, no lectures, just a wire transfer. Why now? I asked. Why tell me a month before? They said they didn't want to make things awkward, and that the money was, quote, a generous gift with no conditions. I closed my eyes. These people. Marissa, I said, tone going flat. Can you send me a list of your vendors? Full breakdown, names, contact info, invoices. Sorry, why? Just do it. Please, I hung up before she could ask anything else. I sat there, staring at the 2 stacks of paper on my desk. One detailing the biggest real estate acquisition of my career, and the other, the sinking realization that my own in-laws had just erased me from a wedding I helped fund. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I cracked my knuckles and leaned forward. I already had a suspicion about those vendors. I'd built a tight network across Idaho over the last 7 years. My company, Crosswind Properties, didn't just own real estate. We controlled service contracts, staffing, maintenance, and if I was right, they were about to learn exactly what it cost to cut me out. I hit the intercom. Tell legal, I need 10 minutes. Then I pulled up the vendor documents and started scanning line by line. They'd drawn a line. I was about to erase it. The vendor list hit my inbox 5 minutes later. PDF attachment. I opened it, scanned the top name, and smiled. Florals, Bloomwell Designs. My company handled their warehouse lease. Catering, Mesa Table Events. They were under a long-term kitchen rental with Crosswind Logistics, one of my shell subsidiaries. The tent and decor rentals, 7 Forks Supply. I'd acquired them last year during a quiet buyout spree. Even the valet service rang a bell. I kept scrolling. Venue, Cedar Point Estate. I froze. That one hit different. I'd forgotten we'd closed on that last quarter. It was part of a distressed portfolio we flipped through a holding company called Bastion Group. I didn't just know the estate, I owned it. The wedding they didn't want me at was happening on my land with my vendors run by my system. I stood up from my desk, grabbed my phone, and hit the line for Joanna, head of legal. Loop everyone in, I said. Full contract review, vendor clauses. I want to know what levers we can pull. She didn't ask questions. 20 minutes later, I was in the boardroom with my legal team and 2 senior operations managers. Contracts were on the screen. Everyone was silent except for the sound of Joanna flipping through the fine print. All vendors are under standard terms, she said finally. Opt out with 21 days notice. No refunds required if it's within the window. Does that include Cedar Point? I asked. She nodded. Same clause? Full discretion? I leaned back in my chair. The air felt sharper somehow, cold, focused. So if I pull the plug today, I said, they'd be left scrambling with less than 3 weeks. Another silence. Technically, yes, she said. But, Ben, come on. That's your wife's family. You'd be tanking their wedding. I turned toward the windows. From up here, the city looked like a blueprint. Clean lines, sharp edges. I could see 3 of my developments from this side alone. They're the ones who erased me, I said. All I did was build the stage. They're the ones who barred the door. Joanna sighed. It's not illegal, but it is loud. I turned back around. I'm not looking for subtle. No one's gonna sue, my operations guy chimed in, grinning a little. But the fallout, media maybe, some bad PR. They won't go public, I said flatly. They'd have to admit what they did. He gave a slow nod. Fair. I looked down at the contracts. Every vendor under my banner, every deal signed with my terms. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd stood on the bones of my business to do it. We'll proceed, I said. Full execution. Notify each vendor with official withdrawal letters by end of day. Joanna raised an eyebrow. All of them? All of them. You want to leave them with nothing? I want them to feel what it's like to be dismissed without notice. Without respect, she stared at me for a beat longer, then closed her folder. Understood. They started filing out. I stayed seated. My heart was steady. No adrenaline, just clarity. They didn't think I'd notice. They didn't think I mattered. That was about to change. I picked up my phone again and texted my assistant. Draft internal, Operation Reclaim. Start with 7 forks. Time to show them exactly how much of their world belonged to me. The first cancellation went out at 9:12 a.m. By noon, all of them had been executed. Florals, catering, valet, tents, sound crew, even the estate manager at Cedar Point. Done. My assistant poked her head into my office around 1. So, just confirming. We've officially burned down a wedding. I didn't look up from my screen. Not burned, repossessed. She let out a low whistle. Most expensive game of chicken I've ever seen. I watched the notifications stack up on my phone. Emails, missed calls, text after text. My wife's number lit up just once. One text. What are you doing? No, hey. No call, no apology, just that. I didn't answer. By 3 o'clock, her brother's fiancé had posted a cryptic message on Instagram. Some people would rather destroy than be decent. Her 18,000 followers lit up the comments like dry brush in July. You deserve better. Stay strong, queen. Cut the toxicity. I didn't comment. I didn't explain. Let them guess. By 5, my father-in-law finally called. I let it ring to voicemail. He tried again. On the 3rd call, I picked up. You've lost your goddamn mind, he snapped. You're ruining your own family's wedding. You think that makes you smart? I waited a beat. You mean the family that told a planner not to invite me? That was a misunderstanding. Yeah, I said. One you didn't bother to clear up. You're mentally unstable. Then I guess you shouldn't have taken my money. I hung up. 5 minutes later, my mother-in-law left a voicemail sobbing, full tears, said she didn't raise her girls to be caught in the middle of some business war. But that's the thing. This wasn't war, not yet. This was a correction, a rebalancing. They made the rules when they took the cash and cut me out. I was just enforcing the fine print. By the end of the day, I had a dozen emails from panicked coordinators. One from the bride's cousin asking if I could please reconsider for Celeste's sake. That made me pause. Celeste, the one marrying into this mess, still didn't respond. Instead, I called my operations lead and asked for a hard lock on all assets tied to the event. Nothing moves, I told her. Nothing restarts until it comes through me. Vendors followed my orders without question. My contracts were clean, tight, built to favor me when things turned. I'd learned that the hard way early in my career. By Friday, the wedding was bleeding out from the inside. No chairs, no food, no flowers, no venue. I sat back and waited, because someone was going to crawl back. They always do. But when they did, they wouldn't find the same guy they thought they could use and forget. They'd find the one who built the empire under their feet, then yanked it out like a rug. 2 days later, my receptionist buzzed me. Ben, your wife's family is in the lobby. All of them. I didn't flinch. Send them up. They came in like a wave. Her dad first, forehead red, voice already raised. What the hell do you think you're doing? I didn't stand. Just clicked the projector remote and brought the vendor contracts up on the screen behind me. I'd highlighted the opt-out clauses in yellow. Big, bright, impossible to miss. Exactly what the contracts allow, I said. That's what I'm doing. He took a step forward. My wife grabbed his arm. Dad, don't! He yanked away. You're destroying our family's wedding out of spite. No, I said. I'm enforcing boundaries. Something you've never respected. Her sister jumped in, eyes wide. This isn't fair. You blindsided us? My wife stayed silent, standing just behind her mom, pale, arms crossed, watching me like she didn't recognize who I was. I clicked to the next screen, their family group chat projected in full. The message was circled in red. Use Ben's money. He won't notice. My wife's head snapped toward her dad. You said no one talked about this behind my back. He didn't answer. Her eyes jumped from face to face, landing on her sister. I thought we were on the same page, she whispered. We are, her sister said. We just didn't think he'd react like this. I leaned back in my chair. I didn't react, I responded. Her sister's voice cracked. So now we're the bad guys? We needed help. You had the money. You're not the bad guys, I said flatly. You're just users. And not very careful ones. Silence spread. No one sat down. That's when my team walked in, right on time. Joanna, ops lead, and my assistant. I didn't even turn around, just let them walk to the head of the table and set down a thick folder. My wife looked at me for a long time. Really looked like she was seeing me with new eyes, not the guy who silently footed bills and stayed out of the way. Why didn't you just talk to me? She asked. Her voice wasn't angry. It was low, strained. I didn't think you were listening, I said. Her sister crossed her arms. This whole thing is a power trip. Maybe, I said, but it's mine to take. I built the foundation you're all standing on, and I'm done letting you pretend I didn't. Her dad ran a hand down his face. Jesus, Ben! I stood finally, walking to the head of the table. I slid the proposal folder across toward Celeste, his daughter, the bride. Your choice, I said. This or nothing. But if you want it to happen at all, it goes through me. She didn't touch the folder, just stared at it like it was radioactive. Her mom cleared her throat. Maybe we need a day to think. No, I cut in. You had a day when you cut me out. My wife didn't defend them. Didn't defend me either. She just watched the way the room shifted. For the first time, I wasn't a silent wallet in the background. I was the guy in charge. Celeste showed up at Crescent Bay Lodge just after 10 the next morning. No entourage, no fiancé, just her, in dark jeans and a windbreaker, hair pulled back like she didn't want to be recognized. Smart. I met her in the north atrium. Vaulted glass, polished oak, open views of the water. One of my favorite properties, quietly elite. We turn away billionaires here, and they still come back with offers. Celeste's eyes moved slow over the room. This is yours? I nodded. Flagship. I led her into one of the side conference suites and handed her the portfolio I'd had prepped. No spin, just data, vendor list, bank transfers, group chat screenshots, the last page, a timeline, their timeline, lining up every favor, every lie, every time they used my name without asking. Celeste flipped through it all without a word. Her nails tapped the edge of the binder. They said you didn't care to come, she said finally. I wasn't invited, I said. There's a difference. She didn't argue. I stood up and walked to the glass wall. The Pacific stretched out past the cliffs. You asked me once if I cared about family. I do, but I care more about being respected. She closed the binder slowly. How much of this wedding industry do you control? I turned to face her. Before I could answer, the door slammed open. Her parents, both of them. Her mom marched in like she owned the place. This is completely inappropriate. You have no right to... I walked over to the wall screen and hit the remote. Up came Crosswind's org chart. Real time, color-coded. Every vendor, every property, every holding company. My world. The screen was taller than her dad. He stopped mid-sentence. Celeste came here on her own, I said. No one forced her. Her mom turned to her. You don't have to sit through this, honey. Let's go. Celeste didn't move. I stepped aside, letting her see the full organization chart. Let her look at the web they never knew existed. This isn't about revenge, I said. It's about respect. That word your family keeps tossing around but never actually practicing. Her dad scoffed. So you're just showing off now? No, I said. I'm showing receipts. Celeste finally stood, but she didn't walk out, just took a slow step toward the screen. Her eyes scanned the branches. Her mom touched her arm. "Celeste, please!" Celeste pulled away, still staring at the screen like it was rewriting something she'd been told her whole life. "They acted like you were just some guy with a checkbook," she murmured, "like you were lucky to be included." I didn't say anything. Let the silence sit. She turned to me. "I need time." "Take it," I said. "But don't take too long. Weddings don't plan themselves." Her parents tried again, voices low now, but she was already halfway out the door. I watched her go, then turned back to the screen. My empire, all of it earned, none of it given. They could lie, they could spin, but they couldn't ignore this anymore. Not when the truth was 10 feet tall and lit up in front of their faces. We met again 2 days later in the main boardroom of Crosswind HQ. Long glass table, skyline view, fresh espresso already poured. Her dad walked in first, trying to look confident, but couldn't hold my eye. Her mom followed, clinging to polite desperation. My wife was quiet, arms folded, face unreadable. Celeste came last. She didn't sit right away. Her dad cleared his throat. "All right, we've talked. We've come up with a compromise." I leaned back, waiting. "You come to the wedding. We reinstate the vendors. No more drama. Clean slate." I actually laughed, not a chuckle. A full, sharp laugh that bounced off the windows. He flinched. "There is no slate to clean," I said. "You wiped it yourselves when you decided I didn't matter." Her mom jumped in. "Let's not go backward. Everyone's stressed. Mistakes were made." "Mistakes," I said. "This was deliberate. You made a move. Now I've made mine." Her dad leaned forward. "What do you want, Ben?" "You want an apology?" "Done. We're sorry." There I slid a folder across the table. Black leather, embossed logo. Laurel House, Saturday, original date, private estate, exclusive use, staffed, catered, secured. He opened it, looked at the number. $185,000, I said. Upfront. Non-refundable. That's your new price of recognition. Her mom blinked. What? You want the event you imagined? I said. Then it happens on my terms. My ground, my team. No more favors. No more backdoor decisions. Celeste finally sat down. You're serious, I nodded. Dead serious. She looked at her dad. Can we even cover that? He was already shaking his head. This is extortion. No, I said. This is a transaction. One you're not in control of. My wife still hadn't said a word, just kept watching, studying me. Her mom put a hand on her chest. We didn't know, didn't care, I corrected. You took what you needed and assumed I'd stay quiet. I didn't. Celeste opened the folder again, flipping to the back. Photos of Laurel House, cliffside views, private terrace, full weekend staffing. Why now? She asked. Why push it this far? I met her eyes. Because I own the damn stage you want to perform on, and I'm done pretending I don't. Silence. Then Celeste turned, slow and certain. I'd like to see the Laurel House, she said. Her dad's face dropped. Her mom looked like she'd just swallowed glass, but it was done. The moment shifted. Celeste moved the folder toward her, not them. And just like that, the narrative changed. Not a family begging for forgiveness. A client negotiating with the owner, me. I walked them through Laurel House like it was any other client tour. No small talk, no softening, just doors opening, lights flipping on, and a silent message in every polished surface. You don't own this world. You're standing in mine. The house sat on 3 acres above the coastline. Understated luxury. White stone, iron accents, real wood. Quiet money. The kind my in-laws always claimed to appreciate. My team was already stationed at their marks. Good morning, Mr. Kerr, said Lucas, head of estate operations as we entered the foyer. My mother-in-law blinked at the formality. Conference room is staged for AV, he added. Kitchen confirmed for tasting at 12:30. And legal pinged. They're clearing that last permit on the Crescent remodel. Thanks, Lucas, I said, without breaking stride. My wife walked beside me, but a few feet back. Her eyes didn't stop moving. They saw it now. Everything I'd built while they were too busy writing me off. I took a call from acquisitions while they lingered in the side gallery. No, I told the caller. If the property line's wrong, we walk. I don't pay for fiction. Get me corrected GIS by Friday. I hung up and turned back toward the group. Her dad finally spoke. You've got a team. I nodded once. The best. He looked around like he was seeing the place for the first time. My mother-in-law trailed her fingers along the hallway table. Is this custom? Everything in this house is custom. I left them in the atrium after that. Let them wander, touch things, get small. I stood out on the terrace alone, coffee in hand, watching the ocean fold in on itself. 15 minutes later, they came back quieter, more measured. My wife stood by the door, watching me instead of them. Her father cleared his throat. We underestimated you. I turned. No. I met his eyes. You ignored me. He didn't argue, just nodded slowly. That was new. My wife stepped forward like she wanted to say something, then stopped herself. I didn't push it. Respect wasn't owed. It was earned. And sometimes it had to be taken. I kept a low profile the entire day. No tux, no limelight. Just headset in one ear, clipboard in hand, walking Laurel House like I was running logistics on a film set. Catering was flawless. DJ early. Floral team on site by 10. My staff moved like clockwork. They weren't just polished, they were loyal. By the time guests started arriving, the place looked like something out of a magazine. My in-laws pulled up in a black SUV around 4. They stepped out dressed like it was a political fundraiser. Quiet colors, calm faces, not a trace of the chaos they had caused. My wife's mother stepped toward me, smoothing her dress. Everything turned out beautifully, she said. Really, seamlessly. I nodded once. We planned it that way. She glanced at my assistant giving directions near the cocktail bar, then at the catering lead reviewing the plating chart. And all of them, your people? She asked. I motioned toward my team, one by one. That's Aaron, director of events. Manny handles transport logistics. And over there, Angela, client experience. She shook each hand politely, eyes flicking from their faces to their name badges like she was finally realizing this wasn't some side hustle. This was an operation, no more underestimation. Inside, the ceremony went off without a hitch. My crew reset the space for dinner, while guests wandered the lawn sipping drinks. I stayed out of frame. My name wasn't on the programs. My seat wasn't near the stage. Didn't matter. The control was in my hands. During the toasts, Celeste stood and held her champagne glass with both hands. She looked around the room, paused, then turned toward the head table. I know a lot of you don't see what happens behind the scenes, she said. But I do, and I wouldn't be standing here right now if not for Ben. People shifted, looked toward me. Ben made this happen, she said again. Every part of it. She raised her glass. The room applauded, not politely, not halfway, fully. That had never happened, not once in this family. At our own wedding, her parents had toasted her like she married a placeholder. At holidays, I'd been the guy who brought wine and paid for dinner, nothing more. But now they clapped. My wife leaned over and slipped her hand into mine under the table. You okay? She asked. I watched Celeste hug her new husband while the DJ transitioned to the first dance. I will be, I said. A month later, Sunday dinner was at our place. My rules, my schedule. I kept it simple. Grilled steak, roasted potatoes, local wine, no caterers, just me at the grill, apron on, sleeves rolled. They showed up on time, not early. No passive-aggressive comments, no whispered opinions. We sat outside, under the covered patio. The skyline burned orange behind them. Halfway through dinner, her dad set down his fork and wiped his mouth. You still holding properties in Texas? I nodded. 17 units in Dallas, 4 more under review outside Austin. He leaned back. Big growth potential down there. His tone was different now. Not fake, not patronizing, just curious. My wife looked over from across the table. I was mid-sentence explaining how Crosswind structured its local partnerships. She didn't say anything, just mouthed, I'm proud of you. After dessert, her sister handed me her phone. One message on the screen, I'll never forget what you did. Thank you. I nodded once and handed it back. No words needed. They helped clean up without being asked. Her mom dried plates while her dad carried out the trash. It was weirdly humble. Like They were learning how to be guests in a house they'd never seen as real before. No one mentioned the wedding. That silence said more than any apology would have. I still kept my boundaries. Separate bank accounts, no blank checks. They could eat at my table, but they'd never have blind access to the kitchen again. Success didn't buy their love. It bought me space. That was enough. Later, after everyone left, I stepped onto the patio alone. The breeze had cooled off. The city lights were waking up. I looked out at the skyline, the buildings I helped finance, the deals I closed behind the scenes. It was mine. And now, so was my voice.